Carol, the world's greatest lover, was this, as an actress, a totally new experience for you, or did you have something to relate to?
Well, it's totally new in terms of the fact it's my first comedy on film, but I've done comedy on stage before. But sure, I always have something to relate to because I approach an acting role in the same manner, whether it be humorous or very tragic, whatever. I still have the same building blocks starting from myself, my heart, my head. And so in that sense, I didn't approach it any differently.
What did you start with for this role?
Start with fear. Wait a minute, what did I start with? How do you mean?
Well, that's kind of what I'm angling for, I guess. The fact that it was a new experience for you, and were you quite nervous, and did you have anxiety?
Well, I was nervous, but I know that Gene cast me because he wanted very much my quality, wanted something he had seen in me. So I started to be more serious. I start with myself, like I do for anything, and then I sort of taper and mold my feelings and my quality to fit what I think is right for Annie. She may have different behavior, physical behavior than I do, and she certainly had a different background than I did, so I have to mold myself a little bit more into that. But yeah, I was nervous. I just was afraid that I might let Gene down, and he and Don would be hysterically funny, down to Louise Fritzfeld, or in this picture, Ronnie Graham, and then I would be the only one that wasn't funny. I don't think it worked out that way, though, fortunately. I don't think I let him down.
When you saw the picture, how did you react to the total thing? Not only your own performance, but the total thing.
I'm glad you put it that way, because the only thing I can react to is the total thing right now, which I loved. And I had the strangest feeling when I saw it. I thought, I love this movie. I don't care if I'm in it or not, but I love it. As far as my performance, it's going to take me a good year, as it always does, before I can go back and watch that and even sit comfortably in my seat. When I'm on, I'm always like this, you know. It's hard to look at yourself on film and be objective and hear your voice even. It never it comes out sounding like what you think it does.
Carol, you do have a very distinct quality to your voice. Was there ever a time when some director or someone in your life said, hey, we got to do something about that voice?
I don't know what you mean by that. No, I have changed my voice from role to role. I sometimes use a different voice. In Valentino, Ken Russell's picture, I have a very different voice. It gets lower or higher depending on the character. I know how to work with my voice. No one's ever said get rid of that voice, but sometimes I'll hear it and think, oh my God. Well, what do you think? When you say distinct, how do you mean?
I don't mean it in a negative way. I just mean that it doesn't sound, you know, like the acting school type voice. It sounds the way people sound.
It's a natural voice, I guess, yeah. Well, I think that's good. I'm trained that way. I'm trained to be natural. I've done Shakespeare, so I certainly can have good elocution, and I can project, and I can do many different accents. I can speak in different languages, but normally I don't put on a different pattern of speech for the character, unless that character should have a different pattern, not just for the sake of acting. It's not the way I work.
Carol, you have 3 films going currently. You have Valentino, you have Annie Hall, and you have World's Greatest Lover.
Yeah.
Each one a different director, Woody Allen for Annie, and Ken Russell for Valentino, and now Gene Wilder, of course, World's Greatest Lover. If you had to do a scene for each one of those directors, and they were helping you with it, how would the 3 scenes differ?
Oh gosh, they would differ a lot. Gene works very much from the heart as a director and a writer. I just hit my mic. I hope your ears didn't go out. He's very gentle and soft-spoken, and he works from a very emotional level with his actors, and he's an actor, you know. Woody is much more psychologically oriented and intellectual, and he'll pretty much leave you alone unless it's going in entirely the wrong direction, and then he'll tell you on a more intellectual level where he wants it to turn. Ken, on the other hand, is very, very visual, and he expresses himself in a huge manner. If he wants you to move your glass 2 inches, and he's told you and you didn't do it, he'll say, "No, I told you I want the glass over there, not over there. I told you all." And he thinks that that's just asking you to move the glass. It doesn't sound big to him at all, and he means nothing bad by it. And if you were to take offense, he'd be shocked. He just is big. He expresses himself big, and that's fun too. It means that nothing is going unsaid, so there's no tension on the set. There was no tension on Gene or Woody's set either, but you got to get used to Ken's manner of expressing himself. I thought he was a delight, and a wonderful sense of humor also. Excuse me, I just had trouble doing Ken Russell.
Were you pleased with the outcome of Valentino?
You mean with my part or with the
Just
entire
the
picture?
the movie, because it has had such mixed reviews.
Very mixed. I have parts of it that I love, parts of it that I'm not too sure about. But I've been asked this before, and the thing I feel about Ken Russell is that he's a unique filmmaker, probably a genius, and that I would rather see a Ken Russell film that fails in a big way than see some safe little film that's catering just to exactly your tastes or exactly my taste. He's an artist and he has a statement to make. We may not like it. We may not like a Picasso painting, but that doesn't mean that he hasn't got the right to that kind of self-expression. And when he's on, I think he's on like no one else. When he's off big, and he gets a lot of resentment. But I'm glad he keeps at it in that intense a way. You know, I think that's something to admire.
Carol, do you agree with people who say he has no discipline?
No, I don't think that someone who has no discipline can get a film done. It's one of the hardest things to do in the world. It's a lot of pressure. I don't think so. I mean, maybe it's just that his form of expression seems messy to some people, but that's just because it doesn't relate to their own. I think he has discipline. To my taste, I like his earlier films better. He did a series of films for the BBC television in England, one on Delius and Rossetti, and one on Isadora. And those were smaller pictures, smaller budget, and a little gentler. And I preferred those in Women in Love to the later pictures. But again, that's me, that's my taste. I don't want to impose that on him, you know. So I think he's a talented man.
Carol, thank you very much for talking with us today. It's been a pleasure getting to meet you.
Thank you, you too.
You're right at 8.
Okay.
Right at 8? Wow.
Okay, I'll get you cut away.
All right. Where would it be good for me to look? About like here? Would that do?
Yeah, I think that'd be all right.
All right.
Then the editors put those in? I never know what the hell's going on.
It's a silly part of the business.
That ought to do it.